Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Amy Jacobson here. John Anthony in for Dan Proft. Thanks for coming in.
Well, thanks for having me.
He is the host of Black and Right Radio, which could be heard Saturdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
That's right.
Right here on AM 560.
You've gotten so much better. Not Black
No,
is
remember
Right.
that?
Remember Black is Right?
I used to say it was Sundays. And then
Yeah.
It's Saturdays from 4 to 7. It is a live show.
Live show.
Best 3 hours of your life.
Yes. I mean, it's the fastest 3 hours.
And real quickly, but before we move on to our next topic, we were talking about Trump's possible VP picks. I think Ron DeSantis should be defense secretary.
You know?
Yeah, because he's a former military man. He's also a former congressman. He knows how Washington works. But yeah, and if he got prostate cancer, I think he'd let his boss know.
Of course.
If he decided to have some elective surgery, I think he'd let his boss know.
Yes.
And I know Secretary Austin apologized for that. But now, if I had cancer,
if a soldier did that,
call my boss.
What would happen if a soldier did that, though? They'd be court-martialed, wouldn't they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Good point.
Yeah, but that's okay.
All right, so what in God's name is going on in New York? I don't know if you saw this. There was a migrant shelter. I call it migrant shelter madness. There's a shelter in New York, and New York's finest.
Did you say illegal immigrant shelter?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
4 police officers went to arrest an illegal for committing a second crime, and they threw everything at him.
Yeah,
a backpack, a cushion, water bottles, a chair. What else? A hoodie. And this is what it sounded like. Ándale, pues, ándale.
Sound like saying dale.
I mean,
dale too.
Just an example of the lack of respect to all of us because we hooked them up with free shelter, food, clothing, and what is
cell phones?
What is? Oh, that's right, cell phones. Oh yeah, don't forget about that. And what did Mayor Adams do? What do you think he did?
Nothing.
Did he condemn their actions and say we need to respect authority, respect police?
I'm sure he did that.
No, this is what he did.
You have bad actors, yes. And anytime you have 3,000 people who are placed in an environment that they cannot work, they have to sit around all day. Things like this have the potential to happen. This is what happens when you give this national problem on a city. We need the national government to assist in resolving this problem.
I mean, unbelievable.
Sounds like Brandon a little bit.
Brandon Johnson?
The same messaging.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. It's just, guys, it's just a few bad apples. They're just adults being silly.
No.
Because they have to sit around you should feel sorry for them. Yeah. They have to sit around all day and they can't work.
Now, dude, what's the vetting process to allow them into these illegal immigrants housing shelters?
I don't think there is any.
Yeah, because
process.
how do we know that they weren't just let out of the prisons in these countries that they're coming from?
I keep hearing that they're emptying jails in Venezuela and then bringing them up here. With more on this, let's welcome back to the program. It has been a hot minute. Curtis Sliwa, former Republican candidate for New York City mayor and founder of the Guardian Angels. Good morning, Curtis. How are you?
Amy, John, my hands across the Migrant Center in New York to the Migrant Center in Chicago. I know it well. I grew up on 46th and Rockwell, South Side, from age 1 to 5 before the family took me back to Brooklyn, and you know the rest of the story.
So what happened at that migrant shelter, and where exactly is that located?
This particular migrant shelter is on a place called Randall's Island. Normally, it's there for people to utilize for sports, softball, soccer, volleyball, and there's some training centers. So the mayor, in his lack of wisdom, decided to put 3,000 single able-bodied young men of military age with nothing to do with nowhere to go in this tent, and the Venezuelan gangs took it over, like as if they had taken over Cook County Jail or Rikers Island in New York. So you come in there, you answer to them. Police of the NYPD are not permitted to go in to these shelters unless there's a 911 call. They patrol on the outside, but they're not permitted on the inside. They have rent-a-cops, private security, who can't handle this. And naturally, look, think of it, Amy and John, for a year, the Venezuelans are watching chaos in the streets of New York by our regular citizens who hit cops, get away with it, shoplift, boost products, do fare evasion, basically disrespect law and order. And they've seen the recent crazies supporting Hamas, who sing from the river to the sea. They've seen them engage in battles with the police, and they see there are no consequences. So it's learned behavior. Now they've taken over. The Venezuelan gangs, they're in charge, and they recognize there are no consequences. Remember, before this, on 42nd Street, the gateway to the world, 7th Avenue, 42nd Street, 14 Venezuelan punk thugs beat up 2 NYPD cops, and they're still looking for 6 of them. Alvin Bragg cut them loose. No bail, didn't basically remand them to jail. And so you understand why there's chaos in the streets of New York. And if you're a migrant, especially Venezuelan, you're an untouchable.
What about that fancy hotel that they were staying at, and then they refused to leave, some families, when they said, no, we're going to take you to a different location? Is that still overrun by migrants? Are they starting to clear any of them out?
No. The hotels have been leased and booked for years, believe it or not, 3 years. The largest being the Roosevelt Hotel, which is where they get processed and then outsourced, owned by the Pakistani government, one of the most corrupt in the world. We gave them $198 million. Oh. No bid, right? Nobody, no transparency. We don't know who the contracts are signed by. We know that Eric Adams' administration, I think, as you all know, is under investigation by the feds for political corruption. They're getting massive kickbacks, and they basically turned this into a money-making operation. Now, all of a sudden, the mayor realizes if he avoids going to the big house and chains in shackles, federal prison for political corruption, and gets to run for a second term, this is hanging over his head. His popularity polls are at 28%.
Really?
That's lower than Biden. That's lower than the governor, Kathy Crimewave Holcomb.
Kathy Crimewave Holcomb.
Hey, Curtis, what's the sentiment of the voters of New York? I know you saw President Trump said he's coming to the Bronx. He's coming to Brooklyn, right?
He's going to go to Queens.
He's going to go to Queens and do some rallies. What are what's being said out there on the streets as it relates to this illegal immigration invasion of New York?
Well, first off, as you know, the politics, Chicago's politics is just like New York. Yeah. To the winner go the spoils. Yeah. Eric Adams, our second African-American mayor. And without the African-American overwhelming vote, who knows, maybe Curtis Sliwa would be mayor today.
True.
But he earned it. He worked the community. He's been involved with the community for over 40 years. But now you're an African-American, some of whom have serious problems, homeless, emotionally disturbed, some who are veterans serving in peacetime, wartime, who live in the subways and streets. And now all of a sudden he tells you, a black mayor tells you to get to the back of the bus, and we're going to put up these illegals who nobody knows who they are, who come in on an easy pass, and we're going to feed them, clothe them, give them iPhones, smartphones, and culturally appropriate food. So if they don't want to eat a bagel with the schmear, they get con arroz, habichuelas, beans and rice. And hey, by the way, give me a chuleta, a pork chop on top. And the mayor says, yeah, get it for them from Grubhub. And who pays for it? Not the federal taxpayers, not the state taxpayers. We in New York City, the suckers who underwrite this. And then the other group that's so pissed, and rightfully so, first-generation immigrants who came in the right way, some of them waiting 5 or 7 years, mostly the Latinos. And I am seeing a tremendous turn this time around from 2016 and 2020. Yeah. Latinos for Trump everywhere, everywhere.
And just to piggyback on what you're saying, there's a guy, big in Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. His name is Dom Lucre, the breaker of narratives. He's here in Chicago right now with Mark Carter, going all across the city of Chicago. So they know they're in trouble. That's why Pritzker put that. How much million for the homeless in Chicago?
52 million.
52 million. But you
182 million for migrants after we've already given them 300 million of our tax dollars, which we have no say in how it's spent.
Exactly. But you see the parallels in New York and in Chicago. So you're right, Curtis. They know they're in trouble with the black community because Joe Biden's not president if Clyburn doesn't help him in South Carolina. What are you hearing that from the black community itself, Curtis?
Oh yeah, and so is Eric Adams. Before the weekend came, there was a luxury condo building that had been built in Harlem, and it was going to be occupied, but then the lockdown and pandemic came in March of 2020, and a lot of the real estate there that was being developed ended up being basically saran wrapped. It was closed. I mean, we're talking pool, we're talking luxury accommodations. So the mayor announced on Thursday, I'm going to use that for migrant housing. On Friday, there was a huge turnout of African Americans, his supporters, I might add, who were like ready to come and, burn the torches and stand outside of City Hall. So he shows up on Saturday and he goes, hey, no mas, no mas. It will not be a migrant center. I don't know how this happened. Please, I love you, baby. Who loves you, baby? And they looked at him and you obviously don't. They were fornicating him and mad dogging him.
Yeah, I saw that. He walked in. Like, oh, surprise, look who's here.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Mayor Adams. All right, but he is starting this pilot program for debit cards, and here's him explaining what that is. These are not for homeless New Yorkers, American citizens. This is for illegals.
Wow. That this was a smart policy shift that we're doing on a pilot project with 500 people. If this is successful, we're going to expand it even more so that we can we got to bring down the cost. 20% we want to bring down the cost, and their team are doing their job.
And I heard he's giving out prepaid cash cards up to $10,000. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. Look, it's really a version of a SNAP card combined with a debit card.
Oh, okay.
$1,000 is on the card each month. And you know how you can abuse a SNAP card. That's like currency in the streets of the hood. I let you use my SNAP card. You give me cash. The cashier never looks at the picture that's on the SNAP card. It could be a man using the SNAP card. It's a woman's face. The supermarket doesn't care. Wow. The grocery store doesn't care because it's all a shakedown of the taxpayers. So now here's another scam that we're introducing these brand new illegal aliens to. They're loving America. You can scam your way and get everything for free.
And Curtis, someone just said on our text line, Trump should pick Curtis for Secretary of Homeland Security. I think it should be Tom Homan, but I could definitely see you as Deputy Director of Homeland Security. Would you join the Trump campaign in some capacity if he reaches out?
Oh, without a doubt. But I think where I could best serve is organizing, particularly minority youth, to patrol the inner city neighborhoods to combat the gangs. That's what I've done. We just had our 45th anniversary of the Guardian Angels. I started it in the Bronx. We're in 13 countries, 130 cities. But our cities, our urban areas, are just filled with casualties that we would normally associate with wartime casualties. Chi-Town is my second city. Yeah. My Sliwa family lives there, Polish family. They're out in Lockport now between Joliet and Chicago. So many have fled. Yeah. And I'd love to be able to say, hey, I did something in honor of my father, who actually went to the old Kaminsky Park, brought me there, cursed out Mickey Mantle, my hero, when the Yankees were there. And I need to make amends to my dad because I said, Dad, I don't love you anymore. You cursed out Mickey Mantle at Kaminsky Park. He goes, we hate the Yankees. We're White Sox fans.
Oh, gosh. Go Cubs.
Oh, that's great. All right. Well, before we let you go, I have two more questions for you. One about this trucker boycott of New York City. Has that gotten any traction? Are your prices going up? Are you still getting food delivered?
Well, our prices are going up because of Biden economics, right? It's like inflation. I haven't seen the effect. We are very dependent on all of our supplies coming in by trucks from all over the country, including the heartland of America, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Nebraska. But to be honest, haven't seen the effects. It would probably take about 2 weeks to actually see a difference in terms of shortages, in terms of prices increases. I like what the truckers are doing. Let's face it, the only language that politicians understand is when it's pain compliance from the voters who are screaming at the top of their lungs. The people who get elected president have always got elected president because of people having coins in their pocket and not having coins. It's always about the money, as Bill Clinton said. It's always about the economy.
All right, last question, because you and I are both cat lovers.
Uh-oh.
I know, so is Justin Kosick. Our technical producer, when his cat died, he got a tattoo of his cat's paw on his forearm. Isn't that cool?
Absolutely. In fact, remember, Chicago has the number one rat problem. New York City, the number one four-legged rat problem. And cats. I know Chicago has gone out to try to get feral cats from shelters all over the country where they would be killed, euthanized. They are the best deterrent to rats and mice. Forget the poisons, forget dry ice, forget all these artificial ways of getting at the rats and cats. They are survivors, the rats. You need détente. The only thing they fear is a colony of feral cats.
Wow. Yeah, I had a cat colony for, almost 6 years.
What?
And what do you mean? Well, I could show you. I could text you pictures of rats. One day, Curtis, they killed 7 rats.
The cat lady.
And I don't know what they do with their heads, but they leave it's crazy though. Yeah. But I love those, and one passed away, died in my arms, and because eventually, if the cats trust you, you can pet them. But and the other one, I don't know where he went. Marshfield. I miss my cat. But anyway, I have an indoor cat. But yeah, you're right. That is the best deterrent, because my neighbors loved my feral cat colony. Yeah. And I had the heating pad, and I had a condo, like the big tub and everything. But you have cats in your apartment. How many do you have right now?
We have 18 that my wife Nancy has rescued from the shelter. They have a kill list. We are not a no-kill city. We need to be a no-kill city. My wife will drop everything. She rescues the cats. Many of them are sick or ill. She socializes them, and then she adopts them out. She believes, and she's right, if they can go with a friend that they've socialized with, they're the best family members you've ever had. Because guess what? You could have a tough day. Your kids are complaining. Your wife or husband's complaining. Your aunts or uncles are complaining. Your cats will never complain. They'll just come up to you and purr. And they did that for me on the campaign trail for mayor when things weren't looking good. Even my wife said, "Shut up. I don't want to hear anything more." My cats couldn't get enough.
All right, Curtis Sliwa,
really
you're the
quickly.
best.
Curtis, were you ever back in town? I live down in Joliet, not too far from Lockport. Let's head over to Jackie's if you're ever in.
Jackie's, I want to go to the prison. I've been there before, man. That will scare the living bejeebus.
That's true.
I went to Stateville too. That was I had to interview somebody once, and it was that will scare a kid straight. That's for sure. All right, Curtis Sliwa, former Republican candidate for mayor, founder of the Guardian Angels. You can follow him on Twitter at Curtis Sliwa. Curtis, thank you so much for joining us, and God bless.
Anytime, Amy and John, my hands across America to the heartland of America, Chi-Town, my second city.
All right, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Frank Vance, co-owner of Egan Vance Insurance Agency on Chicago's Northwest Side and a customer of Signature Bank. In my line of work, we pride ourselves on being there for our clients when they need it the most, and we recognize when someone does the same for us. As Egan Vance was expanding, we wanted to buy a much sought-after building in the neighborhood. We couldn't waste any time. I called Signature Bank, and that was all it took.